Hey guys, how's it going? So I was kind of bored today. It's Memorial Day today, and I'm not working. So I was trying to figure out something to do. And I thought to myself, why not talk about my favorite movies? So I tried to do a top 10, and then too many other movies kept coming up for consideration. Then I thought, should I do honorable mentions? And then again, even within the 10 that I thought was going to be the top 10, it's really hard to kind of put them in order, even though I do have tiers, so to speak, levels of, you know, this is like the absolute favorite. This is really, really favorite, but not as quite as the top one. And then you get, I mean, it kind of goes descending, but there might also be some controversy of, some of these picks are like a whole trilogy, which I think it's fair to count as one movie because then, because that's the whole story, that's the complete story. So it just becomes hard, like, picking, okay, which one out of the three is my favorite. I know there's some series where each film is distinct enough and is conclusive enough to not necessarily be thought of as, a part of a trilogy. And I have some of these coming up. Now, I do think a serious contender for my number one pick, we're getting into the, highest tier. To start off the list is Godfather trilogy. I adore these movies, all three of these movies. I think I mentioned this in my Blu-ray collection video. I think all three of these are fantastic. I even really do love the third one. I don't need the cousin stuff, and I don't think anybody else likes that either. But other than that, I think the movie's great. I really like how personal it feels and how attached you get to the Corleone family. And you really get into the mind of the characters. The characters are really deep, and it's just fascinating to see what motivates people to do these kind of things, and yeah, and it's obviously it's one of the pioneering films of the mob genre, and it's arguably the greatest of the mob genre. I don't even know what comes close other than maybe Goodfellas, but what this does and what it set the stage for the later mob movies is, and why they're so well written, is because it gets you to really care about bad people, That's just what's so, genius about the writing. And I think this does it really well. Now, I don't really know which one is my favorite. I would probably say the second one, but I don't know. I mean, can't go wrong with the first one. These are all great. Now, also in the highest tier is Kung Fu Panda 2. This movie, I still cannot believe how it is this good. I rewatch it all the time, and it always gets better. Like the story is perfect. The lessons to be learned are perfect. The characters are perfect. The action is perfect. The music is perfect. Like this is almost like a perfect movie. People talk about like X, Y, and Z are the perfect movies. Like this should fit in there too. Like it just everything about, like, I can't even really think about anything in this movie that I don't like. Yeah, no, and I love the message of forgiveness and inner peace, and just, making the best with what you have. Poe is awesome, and I love his journey. It's epic too. That's just what I love about it, and that's what I don't like about the third movie. Maybe I can make another video about that and how disappointing it was. But yeah, this movie is a masterpiece in my opinion. All right, next up in the legendary category, Amadeus by Milos Forman. I really like the lessons to be learned here about, envy and greed and jealousy. And I've said this before, and and I'll say it again, I think the decision to tell the story from Salieri's perspective was really interesting. And I think it made it a lot more a lot more dynamic than if it were told from Mozart's perspective himself. Um, Obviously, I mean, there's so much about this movie that like it's just I'd have to rewatch it again and do another review on it. But maybe my only complaint, so to speak, would be that it's in English and it can be a little awkward sometimes with the characters talking, and there's like the different nationalities, and they say that like, okay, we need something in our own language, German, but they're speaking English. It kind of takes me out of the movie for a little bit, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And I actually really do like how the title is Amadeus. I think that's very fitting. Lover of God. I think that's further of a insult to Salieri's memory, which is pretty funny. So yeah, this is great. Also in the legendary category, Life of Pi. I know some people aren't too keen on this movie for some reason. I've never understood it. I think it's a great work of magical realism. I really like the actor's performance. I think it's incredible, and it's also surprising when you learn that it was his first ever movie. I think he did a bang-up job. Ang Lee did a great job directing this. Visually, it's fantastic. I love what it says about religion, and I think it's a good stepping stone kind of for people that are curious about world religions. That's not necessarily why I watch it, even though I do like its commentary on how we can get enamored by the practices of different religions and whatnot, and what drives people to believe and whatnot. And this movie, because it's magical realism, I love how it has that fine line of supernatural and natural, and the supernatural is real, but at the same time you're not entirely sure, and it can kind of show how sometimes it can be very hard to distinguish reality and fantasy. And that point is really handed home when he gets on that island, and you just like it's trippy enough to make it feel like it's supernatural, but then it's also realistic enough to not be too trippy and not to trick you into and making it obviously like a dream or it wasn't real. So I think this movie does a really good job at that. It's it's just also a really relaxing movie. That's another reason I really like it, and this will always be one of my favorites. Next is Prince of Egypt. I think I've talked about this movie before. I think this is the definitive story, or the definitive telling of the story from Exodus with Moses. I really like all of the creative choices that were taken in telling the story. I really love the visuals. The songs are really catchy, and they tell good lessons and whatnot. And I really do like the some people complain it doesn't keep true to the actual biblical story. I disagree. I mean, I think you really see firsthand like the message of just submitting to God, and you're putting your trust in God, and you have to trust that He knows the best for us. And Moses, even though it kills him to go against Ramses, his brother and his best friend, for all of his life, even though it kills him, he knows that he has to be loyal to God over man. So I thought that was really well done. Yeah, I might do a video on this one in the future. Now, still in the legendary is Amores Perros. I've talked about this before. Really, I mean, I know I've talked about all these movies here because of the Blu-ray video I made, but I guess just more explaining why they are my favorites. I just love this movie for the vibes. I love the 3 different storylines. The characters are just so great and fun to watch, and I really love its brutal portrayal of the horrors of absent fathers and single mothers. It's very sad, but I think it shows a good job. And I know a lot of people don't view the movie this way, but I think it really just shows you why we need 2 parents in the house. and why they need to stay together. Yeah, so that's that. And then the last in the legendary category is Rango. I love, obviously, the vibes of this movie. I love how it's this sort of like American Wild West reimagination of Don Quixote. That's why I think Rango is interesting as a character, and how he learns eventually to actually be the hero and save the day, and how it's not always a bad thing to have these sort of like I guess images in our head and about like who we aspire to be and who we like pretend to be, and I like how it shows that, you know, in real life you actually can be the hero in the right circumstance, because the whole and it's this movie is it's hilarious. Like, I don't even know a movie that makes me laugh like literally out loud by myself watching it. It's just it has a great mix of, like, I think it has slapstick, but then it also has like not just obnoxious physical humor, but it also has the cool, like the funny like dialogue and whatnot. The characters, it really gets those like Wild West stereotypes perfect with like the accents and whatnot. Yeah, no, this movie is just, it's an incredible experience. Now, this is the next tier of films. Now, I know many people will consider these 6 films, but for the sake of this video, I'll think of them as one. Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I don't care what anyone says. I love these movies too. Even the third one, I changed my opinion about it. I think this is an incredible story. I don't think it's as good as Lord of the Rings, but I think they're both incredible, you know, presentations of what Tolkien, you know, viewed as the ideal form of the world. So it obviously gets that right. I think I haven't actually read the Lord of the Rings books, so I wouldn't be able to comment on how accurate it is to the books, but I know that like the spirit of the films generally, like the message is the same as Tolkien's books. I have read The Hobbit, and I don't really mind the changes, because I think they were fine for what they were, and I actually like how Peter Jackson made it into this like epic, you know, like 6 hours, 7, like however many hours all 3 of them are together. I kind of like that. I thought that was bold. I mean, I know he originally didn't want it to be like that, and it was kind of the studio's fault. But even so, I mean, given the tools he had to work with, I think he did a really great job with making the best movies he could out of these. So that's that for that one. Next up, another franchise is the Indiana Jones movies. The fourth one is fine. I haven't seen it in a while, and I don't really want to watch it again. Now, out of the first 3, I want to say Last Crusade is my favorite, and I love the other 2. And it's not that I don't think Temple of Doom is worse than Raiders or Last Crusade. It's just I grew up watching Temple of Doom less, and I just have more nostalgia for the first and the third one. So that's why I enjoy them more. I still love Temple of Doom. I think it's really cool. I like how it's distinct from the other 2. Yeah, these are just great. It's great action adventure. It's great, you know, almost like American folklore. And I also think it has a really good thing to say about the supernatural and the existence of God and things that you just can't mess with. You know, I really like what it's saying there. So yeah, these will always be lots of fun. All right, and to round out the second tier is, sorry, it was open for some reason, is City of God. Obviously, like Amores Perros, I love this for the vibes. I think the characters are really funny and entertaining. I really like the way it's shot. Also, I meant to mention that about Amores Perros, and it's just with its handheld and stuff like that. This I like because it has like those pans that it almost feels like it's like a comic book. It's really interesting, and that's what I've always loved about the Latin American cinema. And again, I love how this serves as just a case study for how bad society can get, you know, and it does kind of show the actual, if you've read St. Augustine's masterwork, City of God, he talks about the city of God and it's contrasted with the city of man, right? And in this movie, ironically, even though the name is City of God, it's really showing you the city of man, which is the you know, the city that has totally gone against God, gone against everything good, and you just see the chaos, the mayhem, the decadence, the just like filth, right? And I like how it shows that the only way to overcome that is actually by just making the choice to not be like that. And you see that in the main character, Buscapé, where he, even though he grew up in all of that, and a lot of people would say that the only reason people do these things is just because that's the environment they were raised in. But I think Buscapé he serves as a testament to people that, I mean, even though people that do these atrocities come from atrocious places, you can still ultimately make your own decisions and choose to not be like that, you know? But yeah, this one's great. Now, they're all great, I must say. I'm sorry if I keep saying that after every single one. Now, this is the lowest category. It's not anything bad about these movies. I mean, they're still some of my favorite movies, but I just like them a little less than these ones that I put just now. Next up is Ratatouille. I think this is probably my favorite kids movie. Well, actually, Rango, you might say that. Even though Rango isn't really a kids movie, maybe you could say my favorite animated movie. But I think movies that are like made for kids or family, I guess you could say, Ratatouille is up there. I really like the French atmosphere. I like its sort of like artsy, intellectual, like critique of criticism itself and what value does it hold. Does it and also just the reflection on like what is good art and like what is a good artist, like where do they come from, do they have to come from certain places or whatnot. I think it has a lot of intelligent things to say. It has a lot of funny moments. The animation and just the scenarios are really clever. Kids and adults alike would really like this. So yep, this one's great too. Sorry, at the end, I just don't really know what else to say. Next is Mel Gibson's Apocalypto. Like I said before, if you are a man, it does not matter how old, like whatever demographic you are, as long as you are a male, you will like this movie. And people have seen it, know exactly why. This is just exhilarating from start to finish. And I hate to say the vibes again, but a lot of reason, I like good vibes, you know? So if a movie has the vibes, I'm gonna like it. So, yep. Next, oh, sorry, there's a siren going outside. Next up is Iñárritu's The Revenant. I think this movie is incredibly relaxing and ethereal and peaceful, ironically, because I know that there's some brutal stuff that happens in it, but I love seeing the North American frontier and just the brutal depiction of what it was like settling and trading and exploring those areas of the world at that time. Leo DiCaprio is obviously great. And the action, there's something about like Cuarón and Iñárritu, the stuff they film and then the movies they make and you watch them and there's just scenes where you go, how did they do that? You know, they just make these incredible achievements. Like every movie I've seen from these two guys are just incredible achievements. And that's why I always admire them, not just because of the quality of filmmaking, but also just how that's used to tell the great stories they tell. So yeah, no, it's interesting because I love all of the Quran um, and Iñárritu canon. It's just for some reason this one rises above the other ones for some reason. I love the other ones too, but yeah, this one rises above the other ones. Next up is Y Tu Mamá También. I've talked about this before, how people would think I wouldn't like this movie, but somehow I do. I love how like funky and I wouldn't say wacky, but just kind of like out there it is, with just showing you some like stuff that's like nuts, no pun intended. um, love the way it's shot, love the feel. It just also gets into that magical realism, even though there's less of the supernatural here. It's in the actual story, it's more so just the way it's filmed. Cuarón and Iñárritu are just incredible at that. So yeah, this one's really, really fun and funny to watch. Characters are great too. Now here is a Japanese film that I really like. I have a number of Japanese films that I've watched a lot and I really like, but this one endures, and it's still is my favorite that I go back to and watch the most. I just love seeing Japan in like the late Edo period, I think it was, and the black and white is so beautiful. The action is incredible. I love the case study of the sort of he's like the Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment, but he doesn't have a redemption, and it's just you see that downward spiral into madness and further madness, and it's so well depicted. The atmosphere is incredible. Everything about this movie is great. This is honestly probably like, this is kind of like one of those, like I was saying with Kung Fu Panda 2, like it's a perfect movie. Like there's nothing really about it that I don't like. So, and last on like the official, these are my favorite movies, I got Parasite. Really like the themes of class warfare. The characters are hilarious. I love the different tones, how it balances between all these different tones so seamlessly. Bong Joon-ho is great at that. I love his other films too, and I was considering putting them on this list, but this one I just really do like it more. And I'll never forget watching this with my brother for the first time. Just the reactions we had. It was just so fun. It was scary. It was funny. It's just everything you want in a movie. It's so entertaining. It's smart. It's creative. It's simple too. Like you could probably make like a stage play out of this. I don't know if anyone's thought of that before, but you really could. And then there's beauty in that, how simple it is. Yeah, so that finishes like the official list, and I have a couple more of honorable mentions. This probably would have made the list if it wasn't in this fat collection and it wasn't amongst other movies. Jurassic Park. It basically makes the list. I really love the themes about like not messing with nature, the music. I remember I watched it recently and just listening to that credits with that theme, it's so happy, it's so wondrous, it's so adventurous, it's just so great. I like the characters. Yeah, Jurassic Park has always been one of my favorite movies. It's one of the movies I always remember liking from when I was a little kid. The special effects are still to this day incredible. I love how it blends the computer animated with the practical seamlessly. Yeah, and like I think I mentioned this in the Blu-ray collection video, that T-Rex paddock attack scene is still to this day like one of the coolest scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Now a few others, let's see. The Incredibles, I remember rewatching this recently and I was just I couldn't believe how good it was and how realistic, so to speak, it was, and how adult, that not like, adult like XXX adult, but like, just mature the themes were for a kids movie. Like I felt like it wasn't even really a kids movie. And I remember liking it as a little kid, but just watching it when you're older, it really does hit different. Yeah, so this one's great. And then, last but not least, is the Star Wars Clone Wars, Genndy Tartakovsky. This is my favorite Star Wars anything of anything to this day. It's not that I don't like the mainline movies or any of the other shows or anything, but this is the one that just still sticks to me, and I really enjoy watching it, and I always enjoy watching it. So well directed, so well made. I've talked about this before. Genndy I got confused with Tarkovsky, the Russian director. Genndy Tartakovsky, he's just the master of animation and suspense and just keeping you on edge and keeping you entertained. And it's just, yeah, this is incredible. And I like it for the actual expansion of the Star Wars universe. And I also like it in and of itself. I think it's a great story. Yep, and obviously the vibes are incredible. Yep, so that concludes this list. There's other stuff I could have put on here, but I don't want to make this video too long. I want you guys, if you're watching this, to let me know if you like this format I'm doing of just sitting down and talking. So that's that. Those are my favorite movies. Thanks for watching, guys.